Most self-improvement content on YouTube is made by and for younger single people. And is that you? No? Well, then stop trying to take advice from people who are not talking to you. I would like us to all stop judging ourselves by comparison to people whose lives don't look like ours and may never look like ours. Is there still wisdom and perspective to be learned from watching content that's not specifically relevant to you in the phase of life that you are in? Of course. But if you are like me, then perhaps you have not been quite intentional enough when selecting the content that you watch, and it is setting you up for failure. I think maybe we need to readjust the way that we interact with content. So let's talk about it. So I was just watching this really beautifully edited video called Notes on Coming Back to Your Life by a writer and a filmmaker on YouTube, and I love this style of video. That is the kind of video that I started making a lot when I reinvented my channel a couple of years ago, because I love to write and I love talking and I love editing video footage, adding the right music, and making a message really come alive in video form. And I put so much effort into those videos, and unfortunately not many people watch them, but I still loved the process of making them. When I was writing scripts for those videos, I imagined that I was speaking to a general audience of people who might resonate with the kinds of things I wanted to speak to on the channel. And I am sure that's what other creators are doing too. Like, the point is that you have something to say and you are looking for people who will appreciate and resonate with what you want to say, and maybe it will help them. The thing is that the messages and things that I'm talking about and the messages that they are talking about may be coming from people who are at drastically different chapters in their life. And there may be a really big mismatch between the message, whoever it's coming from, and the observer of the message, whoever it is on the other side of that screen. And from what I can tell, the creator of that video that I was just talking about was a woman who had just entered her 30s, and she had uprooted her life and moved abroad to Europe. And she had a really lovely message about being brave enough to look at your life, to see where you aren't living in authenticity or in a way that feels good to you, and then make changes to become more aligned. And this is obviously a message that I resonate with deeply. And it's the way that I've tried to live my life. I talk about this type of thing on my channel a lot. And personally, I feel this. I have made a lot of pivots in my life and embraced change in a way that I don't see a lot of other people doing around me. But the thing that really stuck out to me from her video was her advice about what to do in that situation. She said, if you don't like where you live, then pick up and move. Maybe go abroad. If you don't like your job, then quit it and decide to do something else. And as much as I want to say hell yes to those kind of suggestions, that is the advice that I would probably give to a person in their 20s or their early 30s who's unattached, still trying to figure themselves out, still trying to figure out what to do with their life, or who they are, who they want to be. But it's not the advice that I would give a single mother in her 40s who has 10 times the amount of responsibilities on her shoulders. And it's not what I would say to a 35-year-old homeschooling mother of 4. It's not what I would say to a guy in his 50s who has invested 20 years into cultivating a life and a family and is surrounded by mostly good things, even if he's still feeling a little bit lost. Even if the concept of the message is good, the way the message is crafted to inspire action in its audience might actually be doing you a disservice if you give too much credence to the judgments of the creator who's telling you what you should do in order to improve your life in the way that they say you should. And this can be a hard thing to discern when taking in content. We may not even realize that the self-improvement content that we're watching, even though it can be overall really helpful and motivating, it might actually be leaving us with feelings of self-judgment or failure, even if it's subconsciously. If we know that we won't be able to enact the kinds of changes or implement the systems for growth that they are telling us to because they're not right for our lives, we can feel like failures in that instance. And as much as I would love to quit my full-time job and move to Europe to be a more fully realized version of me and feel like I'm truly living, I simply cannot do that right now. I have a kid under the age of 10. I am divorced, and my son spends half of the week with his dad and stepmom and sister. I own a house. I have a responsibility to provide a stable home for my son and to ensure that he always has access to his father. So for me, I have to find other ways to pursue authenticity and alignment in life while still being able to fulfill all of those responsibilities. And so many people watching these motivational creators are in circumstances where they see these younger, largely single people telling them about how to create the perfect routines for productivity, how to slay their schedules to earn six figures like them. They see them moving abroad to work as digital nomads, being full-time creators, and living on the budget of a successful creator. And in reality, these people's lives look nothing like theirs. And yet they still see those videos and think, oh, I need to do something like that. I could really be more productive. And then I could maybe start to make progress on this business goal. And oh, if only I didn't have to get my kids up and ready for school, then I could spend my first 2 hours of the day meditating and biohacking my life and working out and journaling and blah, 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 blah. You get my point. And I am not saying that any of these creators or their advice is bad. This is not an attack on anyone's content at all, but it's genuinely not applicable to a lot of the people who are watching it. And so what happens is that on the other end, we are lusting after the lives of these people who are in a different phase from us. They have more freedom of time and location, maybe more financial freedom, and we're judging ourselves for not having the same ability to achieve what they are achieving because our lives are messier and busier and more complicated. And the more content we watch like this, the more subconscious should judgments get embedded inside of us. I should be doing this. I should be doing that, but I'm not, so I'm failing. So if you've fallen down the rabbit hole of that YouTube self-improvement content like me, I don't want you to think that you've done anything wrong. You haven't. I make content that is self-improvement related myself. So like obviously you're here because you're into that type of thing, which is great. I watch that type of content too. But what I want to suggest is that we start being more discerning about who's making the content that we're watching and who they're making that content for. They may think they're creating content for a general audience, but if they are a 22-year-old digital nomad, their content will be infused with the perspective of a 22-year-old digital nomad. It just will be. So perhaps that's not the video you seek out or click on when you see it on your feed. Or perhaps you try to be more consciously aware when you're watching it, that the advice of that creator is probably not going to resonate with you. And that's okay. It's the fact that I think a lot of us are not even aware that when we watch someone's content, we're just accepting that it's right and that it's good advice because it sounds good and is filmed beautifully and it's poetic, or maybe they're a great writer and you listen to it and you're like, wow, that's so profound. And sure, it might be, but it's not right for everyone, and it might not be right for you. And if you aren't recognizing it, you could be suffering as a result of that. And it might even be holding you back from actually finding the path to making real and meaningful change and improvement in your own life, because you have to do it a different way. Recently, I have been excited to see a wave of older YouTube creators coming in, people in their 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s even, who are just showing up and sharing their stories and perspectives on life. And they may not be making the most masterfully cinematic, artsy videos, but I've been really enjoying and resonating with a lot of their messages. And when I see the 20-year-old productivity girlies popping up on my feed, I usually keep scrolling now, and that is nothing against them at all. I just know that with my lifestyle and current situation, it's probably going to be more frustrating than anything else to see how they think I could be smashing my daily goals and creating the 2.0 version of me over the next 3 months. I genuinely hope that their audience find them and like they have an audience, and those are the people that they're making content for, and I really hope that those people are watching it and getting value from it. But we have to be okay with accepting that we are not some people's audiences, and like, with all love, I'm not your audience. The good news is that no matter what phase of life that you're in, there are probably people on this platform who are creating content that you will resonate with and that will feel a lot better intuitively to you when you hear it. There probably will not be as much dissonance when you are listening to them explain how they approach keeping up with their spiritual practice while raising 3 kids and working 2 jobs, if that's the kind of life that you can relate to. Or to listen to a 40-something-year-old ADHD multipassionate mess trying to find ways to be more aligned and more present in her life. Even if sometimes she feels like things that she is meant for are just passing her by and she'll never reach her full potential. I'm just saying, if that's kind of where you are, maybe we should be friends. I really hope that this video was helpful in presenting to you a more mindful and conscious way to approach getting advice from people on the internet. And I really wanted to keep it constructive and not judgmental. So please, by all means, go and find the video that I mentioned above, the first video I started talking about. The creator's name is The Ash Files, and it is truly a beautifully and wonderfully written piece of art. I appreciate these creators, and I appreciate so many of them who are out here doing something incredible with their platform. But just not all of them are specifically going to be giving me advice for my life that is actually relevant and can be helpful for me. So just use your discernment when you hear the advice of these creators, including me. Maybe this makes no sense to you and you think that I'm an idiot. And okay, that's valid too. You do what is supportive to you and use your judgment to ensure that you are not accepting prescriptions for your life that should not be applied to your life in the first place. The more I have been doing this, the more just common sense it makes to me. So like if the creator is nothing like me, then their advice probably isn't for me. But honestly, I've spent years watching content like that without this conscious lens. And the result of that has been that negative thinking and self-judgment has seeped into my brain and actually made me feel worse about myself sometimes, which is probably the exact opposite result that that original creator was hoping for. So it's probably in both their best interest as well as yours that we find the content and the messages that are more supportive for the life that we have and the kind of life that we can create based on our circumstances. And you know, I'm not about limiting people here. You can make major transformational change in your life if you have that capacity, but we don't all have that capacity all the time. And no matter what type of change is in store for you or whatever you're trying to do with your life, I'm sure there are people out there who are coming from a similar place whose message will be just right, like that Goldilocks advice. You can find it. So yeah, go and find those people and support them. And yeah, if I happen to be one of them, then I am so glad that you're still watching. Thank you. You can also subscribe to my channel and check out some of my other content and videos that might also be relevant and helpful for you. That is why I'm here. I'm just trying to share what I have learned and the way that I see things, because I feel like there are a lot of people out there who are probably in a similar place in life to me who will be able to resonate with it and benefit from having another person out there who's talking about it. And yeah, if that's you, then thank you. Come back, like, subscribe, all of that jazz, and I will see you in the next video. I'm Jenny. Bye.